today's video, we are gonna go over the top 10 predictions for 2025. So no matter where you live in this beautiful country, either East Coast, West Coast, Midwest, or here in the great state of Texas, we got you covered. We're gonna cover all the areas and break it down. And of course, you're gonna stick around to number one. It's the most important one, I think, in my opinion. Let's get after it. Starting off the list at number 10, nationally, I think home prices are gonna stabilize. Now, according to Zillow, in 2025, they're going to rise an average of 3.5%, which is pretty normal, again, through the middle of the year, which is a nice change after significant volatility in previous years. This growth reflects stabilization as markets adjust to the higher interest rates that we're seeing nationally. And again, even though the feds will drop the interest rates nationally, that doesn't necessarily mean that mortgage interest rates are hit right away. As a matter of fact, the last 3 interest rate drops that we've had from the feds, the interest rates have actually gone up on the mortgage side of things. And in Texas, price growth is anticipated to outpace the national average, with regions like Austin and Dallas and Houston rising potentially 5 to 7% as population comes into the state, into those major metro areas from outside of the state. Number 9, I kind of just touched on it in number 10, but I do think mortgage rates, unfortunately, are going to remain high. And when I say high, that's a psychological thing, because back in the day, you used to have interest rates 15, 16, 17, 18%, and it was not a thing. Just you knew you had to pay it to get into a house. I get home prices were obviously much lower at that time, but it's all a psychology thing. I have a lot of buyers that we've worked with, especially in the last year or two, and they remember when COVID was here, because it's the most recent thing, and rates were in the 2s and 3s. I mean, shoot, even I refinanced at 2.75%. So it was great, but I sure as hell don't want a pandemic to come back to make those interest rates get to that level again. So I think they're gonna stay probably in that mid 6s range. If we're lucky, you could get low 6s, maybe into the low or into the upper 5s, but I don't think it's gonna happen. Everything that we're reading, and we're on the line with mortgage brokers and all those things every single day, looking out for your best interest. I just think that they're gonna remain in the 6s, probably low 7s. That's kind of where we are right now. Even though there's an administration change happening, obviously early January 2025, I still think we're gonna hover for the greater part of the year in that mid 6 range. And regarding interest rates, experts like Freddie Mac project rates will stay 6.5 to 7% throughout 2025. This marks a shift from the ultra low rates that we saw during the pandemic, like we said. And while this may be affordability for some buyers, Texas markets could be less impacted due by relatively home prices compared to some coastal states, especially out on the West Coast, where we just did a trip recently and the prices are astronomical out there in California. And as we're seeing with the higher interest rates, you can naturally expect that mortgage applications have gone down, especially on the refinance side. Year over year, it's had an 18% drop nationally, according to the National Mortgage Bankers Association. Buyers should prepare for strict budgets and to work closely with lenders sooner the better. Get on board with what they're telling you to do, because they are the professionals and they can get you queued up for potentially lower debt to income ratios as you look to buy either that first home or when you're looking at buying that home. Number 8, suburban growth is going to continue to expand nationally. Suburban areas across the US are poised for continued growth. Realtor.com predicts a 10% increase in suburban inventory, driven by builders focusing on affordable, spacious homes. In Texas, suburbs, we've seen it everywhere. Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, Austin, those areas are just expanding. People are selling off the farmland that they no longer need out there in these areas around the major metro areas, and you're seeing subdivisions pop up everywhere. Centex, D.R. Horton, Lennar, David Weekley, you name it, those guys are gobbling up those areas. And just take a look around any major metro area, you're seeing these subdivisions pop up everywhere. Number 7, I think Texas continues to see a strong demand of people relocating in from other states, especially with some of the big major corporations like we've talked about coming here, relocating with their headquarters. It's a boom. People love the areas, the culture, the land, everything that Texas offers, especially with no state income tax. That's a big one. But as people relocate here, I think Texas is going to continue to surge nationally, outpace other areas, especially the other states that have people relocating to it. Texas markets like San Antonio, some of the Austin suburbs will thrive in 2025. According to the Resi Club 2025 forecast, these areas will benefit from job growth, an influx of remote workers, and the affordability compared to major urban centers. Statewide, Texas is projected to add over 300,000 new residents. That is insane for 2025. I think more specifically here in the South Texas area, areas around San Antonio are going to see even more of a higher growth rate with home price. And number 6, I think home prices here in the San Antonio area are going to continue to rise, even outpacing the national standards. As a matter of fact, they are expected to increase between 8 and 10%, which outperform many other towns nationwide. This is supported by the Texas Real Estate Research Center, which highlights strong demand for properties with larger lots and newer builds. So especially Northwest San Antonio and Southeast San Antonio, that's exactly what fits that bill. So expect Vernia, those areas, even New Braunfels on the northeast side of San Antonio, going to continue to expand as you have those homes with larger lots that people want to go to have the area to spread out. Those areas are going to see that major growth going into 2025. Number 5, home builders are going to continue to focus on all the modern amenities. Now, obviously we need these home builders to put up all these houses because there are so many people relocating here to Texas. They need space for it. We're in an inventory shortage that we've documented many times in the past. So the builders that are putting up these nice homes with great incentives that we're seeing, all across the board, from either lower interest rates or paying closing costs, you can get in there. They're focusing on these modern amenities to compete for the people that already have those home resales out there that are not able to get them gone. This is a good opportunity for people to get in there, especially with higher interest rates as compared to the average that we've seen in the past. That's a good one. Builders across the country are prioritizing energy efficient designs, smart home technology, and community amenities like parks and co-working spaces. In Texas, these features are becoming standard in suburban developments, reflecting the needs of younger buyers. As a matter of fact, over 65% of all new homes being built in the state of Texas in 2025 are expected to include smart home systems, according to the National Association of Home Builders. That's pretty incredible. And number 4, I think housing inventory is going to continue to remain to be a challenge nationwide. It's not just here in Texas. I think nationwide, and we're on calls with our brokerage throughout the state, hearing what other people's issues are in other states. It's the same thing everywhere. Housing inventory is still low. National inventory levels remain tight, with a projected 5% increase in available listings in 2025, which is far below the demand. In Texas, however, inventory is expected to grow slightly faster at 8%, thanks to an active construction situation that we've already talked about earlier with that suburban growth around the major metro areas. For buyers, acting quickly when a property becomes available is absolutely critical, especially when those home builders are doing such a great job of lower interest rates and incentives to get into those new, especially the homes that are already sitting there in those subdivisions. And number 3, economic uncertainty may affect some of that housing stability. And what do I mean by that? Economic uncertainty, including potential changes in tax policies and ongoing inflation, could create volatility in the housing market. Nationally, inflation is expected to hover around 3.2%. Now, while in Texas, the resilient economy may buffer some of these effects that you see in other parts of the country. Keep an eye on local job growth and housing affordability metrics will be the huge proponent in what happens on that side. Again, we see a lot of military here in the state of Texas, so that's kind of been a little buffer, I like to call it, when people relocate here. We'll take calls from California or the Midwest or even the Pacific Northwest. We had some clients coming in from Seattle recently with Boeing, and it's the same thing. Kind of see we're kind of buffered here because so many corporations are moving to the South Texas area, which is a nice thing to have. But again, we may be buffered a little bit from some of these things that may affect the national as a whole, macro, not as much micro here in the state of Texas. And number 2, there just are plenty of opportunities around here in the state of Texas. And what do I mean by that? So South Texas offers opportunities for both buyers and sellers alike. Now, for people looking to get into that home or purchase that property, you have just tons of potential opportunities, going up through the growth like we talked about in the Vernia area or the northeast side, Schertz, Cibolo, New Braunfels area, up 35 corridor going up towards Austin, and Austin coming down again, you have, Kyle and Buda, those areas. And then on the southeast, you have, like La Vernia's super tons of growth happening out here with acreage home sites. So, and all within a half-hour commute into downtown San Antonio. So it's easy to drive, easy to do, but you have those opportunities in there. And especially if you're looking for that new construction, any kind of inventory home that a builder has, be on the lookout for those. If they have them sitting on the ground, tons of incentives usually that we see on those homes. We can, we get them in our email that we said, so we can set that up. And if that is what you're looking for, lots of incentives usually on homes that are sitting with new build construction in those areas that they have around San Antonio area. And across the United States, a move-in ready home will move 15% quicker than a home that may need significant updates, like a resale home or a home that's 10, 15 years old that may not have the modern updates like either a new build may have, or a home that is a residential resale but has had updates by the homeowner in the recent past. And the number one thing that I think is gonna happen in 2025, I think relationships are gonna come back to real estate. Trust me, I have every buyer that I've ever had, especially in the last 8 or 9 years, has always been scrolling Zillow or Realtor.com to get their stuff. However, I think now more than ever, that personal contact with a real estate agent that you know, like, and trust is going to be probably a determining factor on whether or not you can get a home. Negotiations are at an all-time high, especially now that, since that commission lawsuit that happened last year or was finalized last year. This real estate's a whole new ball game, right? So if you have that relationship with your real estate agent, you're just gonna have the upper hand. Like, we're getting emails and messages in all the time from either, custom home builders or production home builders that have these, incentives that a lot of times you cannot see just on a Zillow post or Realtor.com. So get somebody that is, breathing in the real estate environment every single day. What are we hearing? Get the boots on the ground. That's the real estate agent that you want to hire to be your best advocate to get into that new house. And conversely, if you're looking at selling a home, we have those tried and true procedures that we have. Ask your agent for their marketing plan. What does that look like? What are they gonna do? Everybody is gonna do professional photos, and if you're not, then you're just disqualified, from anything else. Like, that's just bar none. Like, that's the basic number one thing that you're gonna do. But on the sell side, what other thing? What's your marketing strategy? What's your platform? I think just putting a home on the market with cell phone pictures is that's done. I think everything now is on the next level, and we've been doing it obviously for years now, but it's a non-negotiable thing for us. Like, it's got to be professional videos, professional photography, all those things add up. So I think that is the number one thing, is I think you're going to see that personal touch come back. Even though you can scroll and everything's technology based, you need to have that real estate agent fighting for you on your behalf to make sure to get you into the best position possible to make a successful transaction in the real estate industry 2025. So there you have it. I would love to know, what do you think about my predictions for 2025? Do you agree, disagree? Leave a comment below. Let's have some banter back and forth. Or did I miss something that you think is going to happen in 2025 that I didn't cover? That's almost even more important. Would love to see some conversation in the comments below. And if you have any questions about anything related to real estate, our team services Texas, but also nationally. Our brokerage is everywhere. So if you have any real estate questions, small or large, it doesn't matter, myself or anyone on our team can take care of you. My information is in the description below and on the screen right here. Again, anything that we can help you out with, just let us know. And happy house hunting. We'll see you next time. Take care.